Make it a default for you, not as a trick. Because we need to understand what this is doing to the person that you're communicating with. When you communicate with someone this way, all persuasion aspects aside, you are actually signaling to this person at a deep, visceral, neurological level, I understand you. I'm like you. I get it. I'm paying attention. And I'm not judging you. And that is a connection that we will fight monsters to keep. Okay? And that's where your conversation, and that's a profound trance state, by the way. Right? And if you ever fought tooth and nail to keep a relationship you think you're about to lose, that's the dynamic. Right? And that's where you start. Yes, sir?
Sometimes people realize and figure it out, see it as...
Sometimes people realize it, most of the time they don't care. If you're doing it sincerely and congruently, they don't care. If you're incongruent and you come across as, sometimes people think you're mocking them. Right? But if you're coming from a sincere and congruent place, and people ask you about it, I just want to make sure I understand you better. I want to communicate to you in a way that you get that I understand you. Is that okay?
So
now, who's going to say no to that? If they do say no to that, that's not the right interaction for you, right?
So in a business meeting, you have multiple people, so other people can realize really fast.
Yeah, but the person you're talking to won't, and the other people think it's just funny. Until you do the same thing to them, and they'll feel like you just totally get them. I'll tell you a story. I told this story before. Many years ago, in fact, Seth was there when the gentleman who brought me out to Israel was in class. Well, I didn't know he was a multimillionaire when I slammed him into trance. He's Israeli, so you got to be careful when you know the shows anyway, because he'll attack you. but I walked up behind the guy and went, boom! And I just dropped him like a fucking stone. Right? And I put him in a trance, and he had a good time and did all kinds of cool things. But that's a different story for a different day. He hired me to come out to Israel to train his VIPs, his marketing department, and his R&D people. And now, I love the Israeli people. They're some of the warmest, loving people. They're the toughest audience I've ever had, though. They are a tough crowd, boy. But if you're one of them, you're one of them, you know? And every day was a battle to get those motherfuckers to sit in the front row. They would come in as a group and sit in the last 3 rows. And so every day I had to come up with a new gimmick to get them to move. I said, can you all move to the front row? They said, no. I said, okay. Well, I always call on the people in the back row, right? They got up as a group and moved to the front of the room. Second day I come in, they're all sitting in the back row again. I said, okay, I get it. I removed the first 2 rows. Well, I do whatever I got to do. That's just it. I adapt to the situation. Right? So one of the classes I'm sitting there, we're going over echo technique. And there's this one guy sitting right there. And as I'm talking about the echo technique, he's going... And finally, he just can't hold his tongue anymore. He goes, I don't believe it. I go, you don't believe it? You don't believe what? I don't believe this will work. You don't believe this will work? No, I don't believe this will work. And for the next 5 minutes, all I did was echo him. And he just kept talking. And talking. And I'd echo him. And I'd keep talking. And I'm waiting to get caught. All of his buddies are sitting around going... And I let the guy hoist himself on his own petard for about 5-6 minutes. I can't remember exactly how long it was. And then finally I looked at him in the most... polite, gentle, by the way, sir, kind of a thing. I said, do you realize that for the last 5 minutes, all I've been doing is giving your own words back to you? And he looked at me. And he looks at his friend. He looks at his other friend. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen those old, like, Bugs Bunny cartoons with Yosemite Sam, and Yosemite Sam actually drinks too much hot sauce, and the red comes up, and the steam pours out. That was this guy. He looks at me, he gets this defeated look on his face, and he goes, are we really so stupid? And I said to him, you're not stupid, you're selfish. Every single one of you has a selfish nervous system. You're moving through the world, looking for yourself. And when you find it, oh God, you don't want to let go. You don't want to let go for anything. That's what the echo technique does. That's what it's about. It's the fundamental driver in your neurology. After survival, connection. That's it. Right? Give people what they most need and want, because if you do anything else, you're being a dick. Because if you know in your heart, in your mind, that this is the most satisfying, fulfilling, pleasure-inducing way to communicate with another human being that gives them exactly the feelings they want, and you don't do it, who's the asshole?
We are.
You said it, not me. Yes?
That kind of raises that once we know this stuff, we kind of have a responsibility for our own sense of personality.
Maybe. Maybe, you know, if you consider yourself a good, caring, compassionate human being and you don't use this, maybe, right? Maybe if you're one of those sociopaths out there, or you just don't give a shit, or you view echo technique as just another linguistic trick, like a yes close or something like that, a yes set, then maybe. But I promise you, if you embrace this idea, this way of living as a way of life, your closing rates will go up automatically without you having to do much else. Yeah.
What was his response?
I don't actually remember beyond that. He just got real quiet for the rest. He did. I found out later that even among his peers, he was a bit of a tool. And I don't know if you've ever worked with R&D people. You ever work with R&D people? They're professional smart guys. Their idea of customer service is read the fucking manual. Right? And that was one of the big problems, is that the marketing department was feeling all kinds of customer service issues. They would go to the R&D department for some kind of solution, and their response was read the manual. You ever read those type of manuals? Right? They're not the most exciting to begin with. Right? So, we're going to take 30 minutes to do this. It shouldn't take you more than 5-7 minutes to do something, but don't rush. Make the experience satisfying. You understand? But what do you start, what do you start with first? State control, and then rapport. Connect. Then begin your exercise. Right? 3 by 3, you got 30 minutes, go. Energized and exhausted, that's not uncommon. Your brain is you're processing and going through so many different changes and stuff, it's cool. All right, so what did we get from this exercise? Besides tired and wired at the same time. Yeah.
That I talk too much.
You talk too much? Yes, sir.
It's easy and I can trust it more.
It's easy and you can trust it more? Excellent. Anybody else? Yes.
You gotta pay attention to exactly if they talk a lot, you have to figure out what they're focusing on, what the main words are that they're focusing on.
Ooh, very good. Very good. Yes.
You have to be sincere when you do it. Else
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the secret. When you can fake sincerity, you've got it made. I'm not lying, actually. But sincerity is the most powerful transconductor. It really is. Yes.
When they gave my gestures back to me, that like doubled the report that I
When he gave the gestures back, it doubled the report he got. Perfect.
It's easier with short sentences.
Easier with short sentences? Absolutely. Absolutely. Who else? Bueller? Sabo. Sabo. Okay.
It helps you understand people better.
Helps you understand people better. I'll have you elaborate that on that in a minute. Yeah.
You don't have to echo everything, but you echo the important parts to them.
Yes.
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 Well, when I observe other people doing it, I observe that when they actually do it, it's like they're on a cake.
Yeah. Pretty cool, huh? Right? Well, again, you got to understand that, to me, the mating archetype is, to me, the pinnacle social archetype for all interactions. I call it the 1 + 1 = 3 scenario. We'll get that in a minute. But if you think about it, all business deals are creating a new life or creating a new being. So you have two people or two entities or two agencies coming together, and they're going through the courtship ritual to see if there's a fit, if there's an attraction, if there's a mutually satisfying arrangement, and then they consummate that arrangement, and poof, something new comes into the world. Right? So if you look at, this is why we can take so many things from the attraction niche and graft it into these processes, because if it fits there, it probably will translate. But because the jargon is different and because the contexts are different, human beings tend to think in terms of reductionist. X is different from Y, Y is different from Z. They can't see beyond the context. My curse or my gift, whatever it is to see that this applies here and this applies here, and just put it all in there like ragu and see what happens, right? But what it really comes down to is a very learnable, natural human faculty, and that's called pattern recognition. What changes is the scope, the perspective you're taking. In NLP, we talk about chunking up and chunking down, where we go from very abstract concept or very bird's eye aerial views to very microscopic views that are like laser focused. You can't see anything else, right? Well, human beings tend to engage in that X is different from Y process, no matter what level they're at. Okay, because everything that we do as a human being is context specific. Right? Our learnings are in certain contexts. Our learnings are state dependent. The decisions we make, the identities we have, or that are functional inside. You learn about this in Identity by Design. The identities that we inhabit or that are running our meat at any given moment are entirely context dependent. So give an example I got from Kevin Hogan. You know, if you let's say you got this guy who on the weekends he's a soccer coach, but during the day he's a very busy insurance salesman. If you call him at the office and ask him a question about soccer, he's likely not to remember anything about it, because there's a different identity template in place in that context. It'll take him a few minutes to get into soccer mode and answer your question. You are different people in different contexts. This is another big inroad that came from the seduction world. was creating an identity for the person you wanted to sleep with. And installing it and letting him live up to it. Right? And it's as simple as, there's a part of you that pretends to be the good girl, but there's another part of you that likes to be naughty every now and then. Say how fast? You'll learn how to do that when we get to the code reading section. But the minute you give somebody an identity, if you have rapport with them, they want to fulfill it. Especially if it's one that's exciting. One that gets them out of their usual humdrum. Gives them permission to be somebody or do something that would normally be off limits. They do it. That's why people go to Vegas. It's a zip code rule. It's not cheating if you're in a different zip code. Right? Apparently Mickey has some experience.
I've never been to Vegas.
That you remember.
But she had a friend.
She has a friend. I have this friend. My evil twin, Skippy. My kids have started looking for Skippy. Like, where is he? Is he in the closet? Are you Skippy or Daddy? All right. What else? Anything else? Yes, sir. Ma'am.
So in our scenario,
Uh-huh.
where Gary was the customer and I was the business owner, so my business tends to be pretty complex in terms of what I do.
Your business is complex in terms of what you do.
Well, I mean, the scope of what I do can get complex quickly. And he did a great job because it was a situation he was familiar with. And he did a lot of the speaking, which is what I always look for. But in terms of the echo technique, my go-to is to really pull out through questions and to mirror back what I heard and so forth. And it's a form, I guess, of echo technique, but it's not necessarily an exact word because there was so much to share. So I'm just wondering, when I know your work is different than mine, but when you do echo technique, do you tend to focus on, kind of what's your thought process, what exactly you echo?
I echo what I think is most impactful to the person. When it's feasible to do it, I echo their entire word, or their entire string. If they speak a lot, here's some of the tweaks. People always remember the first thing that they heard and the last, so just use that. As you get, and the reason when I'm teaching newbies, no offense, when I'm teaching new people the echo technique, I make it very, very rigid in that I want you to remember every single word they say in sequence verbatim. Why? To train you. To enhance your cognitive capacities in the field. Knowing that you will probably never have to go to that extreme. But when you can comfortably do that, you will know and remember so much about the person. Right? And what will happen is your language centers, your sensory acuity, your memory capacities will start to change. And as you move through the levels of competencies, you go from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence to unconscious competence. That will free up bandwidth for you to pay attention to subtler distinctions in those words that you're echoing. What will start to emerge are words they emphasize within the string. These are the most important words to echo. Right? But at the beginning, you don't have the sensory acuity to pick them out, much less remember them. So I make you remember everything. And I guarantee you'll get the words. Right? When you do the entire string of what they say, you are automatic. For those who have, how many of you have an NLP background or familiar with some NLP? Okay. NLP, we talked about how we have an experience, your neurology translates it into 5 channels of information: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. NLP teaches us that when people go about the process of behavior, whether it's a cognitive behavior or a physical action, parts of their brain fire in a specific sequence. The visual cortex, the auditory cortex, the kinesthetic cortex, the olfactory and gustatory, they fire like spark plugs in a firing sequence, or like a code.